Oh,
Hey, hey,
hello.
how's it going?
It's all right. Just just got back from taking Chewy for a little walk.
Oh, dude, so speaking of Chewy, he came up last night in my phone call.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This like famous futures dog is what he was referred to as, um, with Tim and Jess, Tim Parsons and Jess Charlesworth.
Oh,
He said
right.
hi. And I said, they asked how things were. We did like a Zoom catch up. I hadn't talked to them in a long time. And they were like, how's Chewy? And they're like, do you ever get to see Chewy? And I was like, dude, I got to see Chewy all the time when I did the Monday mornings. And they're like, Chewy has this like weird way of just entering a room and totally taking command. I was like, he really does. Such a
Yeah,
funny dog,
that dog. That dog.
right? How old is he now?
He turned 5 in June.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
So he's young
yeah. No one told him he's a dog. He still thinks he's a puppy.
and a human. He kind of acts like a human.
That's right. Yeah.
How's Mary doing?
She's good. She's busy at work, their practice, and yeah, just kind of growing that whole business.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Does she does she specialize? Is her therapy like specialize in a specific type or?
I think it's like marriage and family therapy, but it's sort of more. I mean, I'm not sure how these things categorize, but that's what the kind of license or
Yeah,
whatever specifies. And there's something, yeah, but I don't think she. I mean, she doesn't just do that. She just has people with like their normal collection of neuroses,
yeah.
family stuff. But she's been doing more um like ketamine work.
No way.
Yeah, so she's like been going to a bunch of trainings and seminars and has a couple of clients through someone else's practice. I don't know, somehow it works. It works somehow. Um, because you're giving people meds.
Yeah, that's pretty
But
awesome though.
she's the one who sits with the person when they're doing whatever they're doing. I guess she's gotten a good reputation when people are like, yeah, I just like her there.
It's really wild. I sort of have a friend right now who's sort of lost himself to psychedelics with microdosing, which has
Hmm.
turned into micro or macro dosing, which has just turned into getting high.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but it's like that whole world before that journey took that direction. I was reading a lot about that whole world of just the possibilities of this stuff. It's
Mhm.
pretty insane. Very
Yeah,
different substance, but still really cool.
yeah. I've never done ketamine. And but I know people who have, and who are dealing with like like kind of proper trauma, and it seems to help. Like epic,
Yeah.
like a partner, dying way too young, and seems to help. Whatever it is that you're working through or dealing with. I mean, it doesn't like cure it. It's not like, oh, but it's somehow whatever is going on helps you process that.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I'm excited to come out and check out the studio on Monday.
Yeah, I'll have to finish putting together stuff. It's kind of it's been slowly just trying to make it back to normal.
If you, I would love to check out the Tom Sachs books that you have,
Mhm.
because I don't have any of those books. So it'd be cool to check that out.
Yeah,
Um, I didn't realize he had a whole uniform for people who worked with him.
I don't know if it's like a formal thing, but you see pictures of them. They're all like at the astronaut stuff, they were all wearing shirt sleeves, you know, like the classic astronaut white.
Yeah.
Um,
Were, were they all in that like suit, that like tan, black, white, navy color scheme that he has?
it was like black. I mean, it's probably in one of the books. It was like I don't know. It was like let me go look. So they've got, you know, the astronaut stuff, which is
Yep.
basically Tyvek or something. Oh, here's a picture.
Yeah, that classic photo of him.
Um, so like lab coats. I mean, it's pretty, you know, it's what you'd expect.
Has he been working with Nike for a long time? I don't remember him having this collaboration for that long.
Uh, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. He definitely did something for the Mars program,
Okay.
whenever that was. It feels like, so I went to see that in New York. So that was a while ago. I think they've, I don't know if they've done something like every year, but
I really vibe off of the aesthetic of those rockets and the Mars rocks, of the sketch quality of it.
hmm.
Um, there's something, I like the artistic, but yet sort of accessible vibe to that work.
Yeah, he's got that kind of bricolage drawing style. Like he doesn't try to, he'll try to get the Chanel logo right, but
Yeah.
not try too hard. It'll always be like hand drawn. And the um yeah, I don't it's I'm sure someone is just can describe it better than I can, but it's always just it's like s- scrappy, like see buttons that are just like
Yeah.
like a kid would do if you were making a spaceship out of a cardboard box and some old and you had a magic marker or something, right?
I think the reason I'm vibing with that with the chore code is that when you look at the history of it, it's like, that original image of, I'll just share this. Um, when I look back at that original chore code, let me see if I can find it. Um, of the guys in, yeah. Yeah, these guys. Um, that that like that code in real life would have felt scrappy, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Like even today, when you see one, a brand new one is beautiful for a long time, but there isn't that like that fidelity of the NASA engineered or the like the Prada vest that I was showing, like that hyper spacey vibe. So there's something about the scrappier, the hand element to this that I think I'm leaning towards keeping rather than going the other direction.
Yeah. What would have made this scrappy? The
I think
what is
just
it, a
having
frock
work,
coat?
what's that?
What is that, a frock coat?
The one on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would have
Oh,
just
sorry, was that the
been
one you were saying would have been scrappy or the
the chore coats on the right.
okay, gotcha.
No, the one on the left was nobility.
Right.
That would have been anything but scrappy. But I kind of like our coat not being, I like the idea of it being well made, but I don't like the idea of it having this like NASA like vibe to it.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Finding that like middle ground.
Yeah, so I first noticed the chore coats that um I guess when I saw them at at the rocket launch. But I mean, I'm not saying that that was a particular time, but they were just plain chore coats. There was nothing they might have had like their names on them or something.
How do you see the logo um, with this too? The one that you guys, the one that you're using for the lab right now, is that something we have all the files on? Like,
Yeah, yeah, that was commissioned.
nice.
Yeah, so we have that. I had been thinking about like evolving it, but I don't know. That might just be mode.
I think that it can evolve through a drop if we ever do that, but I like the consistency of it right now.
Hmm.
I feel like if we were to evolve it, I was looking at when Prada does these time capsules, they sort of evolve some branding language, but they don't ever really change the classic logo. But
Yeah.
I kind of am enjoying this. I've been really diving into this whole world of experimentation through these things. So sort of seeing what comes out of it.
What do you mean?
Um, I guess like less worried about having there be this defined deliverable where it has to be monetized like through an e-commerce platform and
Okay.
hit this benchmark. I mean, that's not what NFL is about to begin with, but specifically within NFL, it's nice to be like, oh, maybe the logo would evolve, or maybe that's a drop, or maybe that's the digital, or maybe that's this. I don't know. I get that vibe a lot, even on our Friday calls, where it's like there's a nice fluidity to even when we were talking about the DAO, how this thing evolves.
Hmm.
I like that.
Yeah.
We can dive into this board real quick because I came up with another idea that I would like to actually get your thoughts on.
Yeah, let's do it.
So in the Miro board, if you want to head over there, instead of creating this persona thing, which I think kind of worked, got a little bit to what I was thinking about, but I guess what it was really trying to get to is thinking about, the coat can't be more than, I don't want to make the coat more than what it should be. I think the coat in a way is pretty simple.
Right.
And I think the classic designer dilemma of overloading it with all this meaning, especially when you're in a futures lab where everybody has their unique wants and desires. So that I'm thinking, there's the opportunity for iteration or a generative piece through the digital component makes me think about all the different types of accessories we could illustrate or create for the digital coat. That could, maybe if we gained enough desire or traction, we could make them physical as well at some point. But I added this like accessories dump is what I'm calling it right now. And just this like possible list, this list of possible accessories for the Chore coat, but also not just randomly, because at first I was like, oh, it could have this or it could have that, but sort of why it would have it, right? So I've always been, so I just, mine as an example, I've always been obsessed with spoilers. And the speed tail on the McLaren, I just think is beautiful. But I also love this garish whale tail on the Porsche 911 from the late 80s to early 90s. And there's like a speed element to it for sure, like an aerodynamic element. But then there's also this idea of just drama and volume and adding like a bigger butt to the car, that adds a sensuality to it as well. So I don't think that the why has to be necessarily like, the why is because this near future has, it doesn't have to answer the most high concept speculative answer, but I don't think it should just be something like, I like it, you know? So I was thinking maybe this could be a fun exercise for people to engage in, even outside of an ideation session, where people sort of like take it and think about, okay, what would be my accessories? And then I could take this list and formulate, the top 50 or 80 list of accessories that we would add to the digital coat. And that would be our first drop, right? Similar to like the rocket, where it's like, here's the coat. We've made the physical coat. And I'm thinking that this physical coat will have some, have 2 or 3 unique elements different from the original Chore coat, but it's not going to be like the Inspector Gadget coat. And then the digital coat will be sort of like emblematic of the physical one, but then you could add all these different gadgets and accessories to it that are emblematic of our personalities who have sort of been part of the lab from the beginning or are part of it now.
Yeah.
So what does this bring up for you, or any thoughts on this?
Um, yeah, accessories. So is it like I'm trying to kind of feel what you're describing in terms of the accessory other than the coat proper? Is that what you're?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, other than the coat, like if you think of the coat itself as like the foundation, what would you add to it? And
Yeah.
that could be like, I've heard you say things like a bigger pocket for this specific moleskin. Like that could be a very specific accessory that, there's moleskin is an entire shop, right? So like
Uh,
the accessory doesn't have to be flashy like a spoiler, right? It can be super, super specific, super refined, um, and maybe to that point, even pragmatic and possibly more accessibly made, in a physical world. But
my
there could
mind
be a spectrum.
my mind sort of goes to I don't know, I just sort of see like the if the coat were in the center of something, just like laid flat, like one of those laid flat diagrams,
Mm-hmm.
what might be the things around it. And I sort of go, I mean, definitely like I like the moleskin was the first thing that popped in my head. Like, is that an accessory?
Yep.
Is there a in addition to the moleskin? And I tried that once when I had access to this flatbed UV printer, or like we called it a golf ball printer. I did print, actually I probably have them. I did print some moleskins with print the cover, print on the cover. Like I think one I did was like the Apollo lunar lander. I think I just printed
Yeah.
one with the logo Near Future Laboratory. Um, and then I think of a camera. Like that would be like the if we had a fuck off collaboration with like Leica.
Yeah.
Um, I guess, like that, those crucial things. So like notebook because you're observing, camera because you're recording, maybe there's an audio recorder kind of thing. Like I'm thinking like really like kind of pragmatic stuff. Like maybe I was going through this Virgil Abloh book and he did this, I think it was like with Ready Made. Remember that brand? They might even still exist.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they're
He did,
classic. Yep.
he did a bunch of glove collaborations with them, but they were like kind of, they were like the kind of gloves that you would wear if you were doing a lot of um, heavy handwork. So they were protective in some fashion. They weren't like
Yeah.
latex gloves. They were like thinking probably like the kind like, and not archival handling gloves, but they were a little bit more robust. Imagine like factory workers wearing it
I
just.
love the gloves he did for the Maybach. Like even just these. Um,
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
like there's an element of accessory. I mean, what he does so well, what he did so well was how he, everything sort of positioned. And this is, I think, back to streetwear where things were kits, right? Like
hmm,
you had this streetwear had such a beautiful aesthetic of everything sort of vibing off each other.
yeah,
Um, that, the automobile industry definitely took, right? Like they would do luggage and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I think it can be pragmatic, but I also really like this idea of it being fantasy as well, and there being a spectrum of sort of like realistic, like yeah, there's a pencil case, or there's a notebook, or there's a camera,
yeah,
and then those could actually lend themselves to a true collaboration, right? Like I always want to keep one foot in a reality and one foot in pure fantasy,
yeah,
and then the
yeah.
reality has this ability, like if we do so, just let's like take Leica for example. If we do so say, on one spectrum we've got the spoiler, which makes no sense. You're not going to get anywhere faster. I think I'm going to travel to the near future way faster because time is super important to me because I got to get back and feed this cat that I'm obsessed with, right? And so like that's my narrative. But then somebody's like, well, I'm going to take photos. That's super pragmatic, right? And so then we say this coat has this particular pocket or this particular build out for this camera, and then that we can even, I mean, I love pitching, so we even pitch that to like a,
Yeah,
as something that they could say, yeah, why are we not teaming up with this near futures lab, you know?
yeah.
So I think I would love to compile this list. I don't mind doing it myself, but I would love to kind of pose this list to the group and say, what is this list of accessories, both the spectrum from realistic to fantastical, of all the things we would want to add to it. Um, and some people I think are going to be better at, well, people will land where they do, I guess. But I think this is my next step because I think this will help kind of, I feel like the actual code I've started to sketch out. After today's first meeting, I feel like my next step is just to start sketching that out.
Hmm.
Um, but I want to start playing around with how the digital pieces inform it now.
Do you even think about um just kind of building some thoughts that I had while you were talking it the what was I gonna say? What would be, even if it like go fully like to the future or whatever, and just say, and it might be a camera like thing, but it might be in the Tom Sachs mode, just kind of like bricolage. It's just we just made it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't work. Or it does, it works in a different way. You have to use your imagination, just kind of play into that thing. We brought a bunch of stuff back, and it's because I think he definitely did a Hasselblad, Um, I'm pretty sure it wasn't a camera that worked. It was a thing that he cobbled together that looked like the thing.
I'm even thinking about like, so
Or maybe
one thing that
the model
I
made.
just went through my
The model made.
I went through my storage unit, and I get obsessed with the Container Store, and it's not environmentally sound by any means, but I love putting objects in containers and keeping them safe. I don't know why, but there's just something about like, my ex used to give me shit. He'd be like, "You have non-valuable things in very expensive container store containers," and I'd be like, "No, the things in them are really important though." So it's like, I even think that this coat could have like, you open this coat and there's just like flat pack containers that are ready to store all the things you're collecting,
Hmm.
um, in that sort of true archaeological. Write that down actually. Like specimen collecting. Um, yeah, I just love this stuff. It's so not good for, but do you know much about materials that change? Like like the most common thing I can think of is like a hypercolor, but a material that changes with heat or any of that stuff.
Um, I've heard of stuff like that, but I don't really know anything about it.
Yeah, I think I need to look into that more. But um, so what other objects? Walkie-talkie out of that. How many people do you think, if I were to put this out there, do you think we could get like realistically to contribute to making, to adding a list of things?
Um, I think I know what you're asking, and I think it just comes down to I don't know. I mean,
It's yeah,
it's some people feel into it, some people don't. Um,
yeah.
I don't know how to really.
Just leave it open ended.
I mean, it'll be a small minority of the 800 and some people
Yeah,
until people start being like, oh, wait, this is pretty cool,
I know.
and you just have to keep the within yourself, keep the confidence and enthusiasm and excitement, and 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 not, don't question yourself, like, no, this is
I mean, that's the one thing about this group that I was talking about this last night with Tim and Jess. I think that's the best thing it has going for it is that it, for whatever reason, the structure of it right now, because you can only really engage by doing something that you actually want to do. It allows you to kind of have that. I don't really give a fuck if anyone else is into it or not. You know,
yeah.
I mean, to a degree. Um,
I know what you're saying. I mean, it's just gotta just keep after it. Feels right.
yeah. All right. Well, I think I will probably put out a bulletin to ask people, and then I might DM them directly to be like, because there's a couple people that I feel like they contribute pretty regularly that I'd like to have. Um, like it would be nice to get. I see this as like our first iteration because in my mind I'm thinking like this could be a series of drops, right? Like the chore maybe never changes, but we do a series of drops, um, and then you add on to the coat over time. So maybe like you collect the spoiler and the camera in the first drop, or you and then the second drop, and it becomes this like this collection of the coat becomes its own identity piece in itself, which I think would be really cool to see that evolve. Um,
It's just kind of I'm just adding to that thing.
Thinking about some form of translator, like how this thing could potentially have like a way to facilitate interaction in the near future.
Mm.
When you think about going into the near future, Julian, do you think about it as you, or do you think about it as a character?
I think about it as, I think about it as me.
What is that?
This thing, the laser pointer.
Ah,
Imagine something you might use because you have to designate things. Like it's over there. It's that thing right there. Go over there.
yeah. What is this from?
I'll be right back. I'm just gonna go get some water.
Yep. Mm.
What happened? So what was going on with the spoilers? It was just something like when you were a kid, it was like, ooh, whoa, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I don't know. I've always wanted a spoiler. I feel like the next car I get, I'll have to get one now. But I've just always loved spoilers. And so I think for me, this idea of if I were to add something fantasy onto my coat, if someone gave me the brief, like, what would you add to your coat? If you could do anything to your coat, I would be like, I want a spoiler on it. Like I want this like gaudy 80s style 911 spoiler on it. And I love the juxtaposition of a utilitarian chore coat mashed with a over the top, you know, Malibu Porsche style spoiler.
Mm.
But then I started thinking, well, like, that indulgence of, I like to be able to say, well, why? And then I was like, okay, well, I'd probably do it because then I think like I'd get there faster, right? That's what people used to say about these spoilers. Like it makes them so much more aerodynamic, which I'm not really sure how much of that is true. I mean, I know that is true, but so I was just thinking like on the more fantasy side of things, if I were to answer that brief of like, what accessory would you add to this chore coat in the, out of a digital iteration, I would add a spoiler. I like the idea of like, and then it kind of just leads me to think about jumping around in the future quickly. So why'd you put silly string up there?
I don't know. It popped into my head.
Yeah,
I think because I saw your the pepperoni kit or whatever it was,
yeah, the little pizza kit.
and then when I googled silly string, I don't know where it came from. It just popped in my head, and then I was like, oh, glow in the dark silly string. That could be useful.
That's fucking brilliant, actually. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I think would be really cool. Like I was thinking about, oh, I'm going to be in the near future, and one of the first things that usually happens to me is after I get someplace, I'm hungry immediately. So then it's like, oh, well, what if this container is a snack and it also doubles as like wet storage? So I can add like some slime that I find or some whatever goop that I want to bring back as a specimen. So it's
Yeah.
like I get my snack and I get my specimen container at the same time. But as you're talking about the silly string, it's like, well, what if this glow in the dark thing helps you find your way, or it's sort of a way of marking that dissolves and is almost like a peaceful way of identifying. I don't know, like there's also like as these things emerge, there's something like that silly string is very different than the the Leica camera, right? Like the styling of that when it's compared to the chore coat. Um, I tend to vibe with things that sort of don't seem to have any connection to them, but then somehow make sense together.
Yeah.
Like a chore coat and a Leica camera go hand in hand. I feel like everyone who owns a chore coat either owns a Leica camera or has held one.
Yeah, because of that.
Um,
What's his name? Bill Cunningham.
Bill Cunningham made it famous again. Well, reintroduced it to us. But not everyone I feel like very few people who've had a chore coat on have also sprayed a can of silly string recently
Yeah. Yeah.
or eaten a Lunchable. Could be a cool idea too to think about like a first aid kit collaboration, or
Hmm.
like, because I think about that not flat pack, that aerial view photo that you talk about. When I think about hiking, so popular with hiking gear, there's always a this first aid kit kind of thing in one of those shots.
Yep, that's a good one.
It'd be interesting to think about like the bandages or the type of gear that would be.
Yeah, I like that.
Did you see what was it, Kim Kardashian's earthquake kit?
No.
It's either, I think it was a company that she invested in. Earthquake kit. I think she invested in this company called Judy. And aesthetically, it's really beautiful. I mean, the big slack was that it took up so much room and, it was mostly just packaging.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's an easy win for us, as I'm always trying to think of how to monetize something out of this to whoop.
Judy.
Yeah, such a great name. Snack kit, a spray paint. Is this a glow in the dark one as well?
I think it's a glow in the dark one, yeah.
Yeah, I like the glow.
I looked up like a green screen one.
Oh,
But
I like that. The glow in the dark element feels really, I really like that idea. Else. I feel like music is sort of a classic one, like a headphones thing, but I'm also not that pumped about that idea.
In music?
Yeah, I was thinking about just like somebody having headphones or listening to music and having their own like little soundtrack while they're in the near future. But like, what would I feel like music is sort of like a comforting thing you would bring with you. So they're like, oh, I know what I wanted, Dad.
Yeah.
Um, I saw somebody the other day with this thing, and kind of goes back to my container element, but I was at the Westfield Mall and this person was just rolling around with their cat in this. It has like an extendable arm to it,
Yeah.
and the cat just chills in it while you like roll it around like a suitcase.
That's funny.
And I loved it. And like I always thought cat people were super weird, and then I ended up getting a cat for my then partner. And then when we broke up, it was like the only thing that when we were like dividing up stuff, I may have already told you the story, but like I called my lawyer and was like, what rights do I have to this cat? You know, it's like of all the things we had acquired together, the only thing I cared about was this cat
Right.
from like a gutter in the valley. And now I am that cat person who like takes her out on walks and stuff. So I feel like, especially after COVID, we all have these like emotional support animals, or even if they're not technically that, they become that in some capacity. So I'm thinking about this like sidekick element to the coat, sort of like your sidecar.
Yeah.
Um, I could totally see there being like a motorcycle sidecar addition to the chore coat in the digital format that your whatever pet can sit in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Chewy would go right in there, you know, and then it's like, why wouldn't Chewy want to go to the near future?
Yeah, totally. He comes everywhere else I go.
Right. He's got his pup cup at Starbucks. Like you have to think about that. Like if you were coming in from 1860 to sitting down with us in Los Feliz with Chewy with a pup cup, that would be fucking crazy to you. You know, like that would just be bonkers. So this really isn't that weird. See, I'm already feeling like if a couple of these were like, you know, the versions like Tom Sachs did, even just drawn out in that kind of sketchy format that you could add to a digital like a digital file code, I would buy them up, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they'd be like, okay, so my identity is spoiler with a cat sidecar and a walkie-talkie, you know, like this identity starts to emerge, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I'm going a little bit tactical here. I don't even know what this thing would be good for, but it looks it looks like it comes from somewhere.
What is that?
It's like it's called a connecta with an A, connecta. I think it's into like, you know, if you need to tie a bunch of things together, maybe.
That person's got to be from what, Southie or Long Island? What does connect? Would be Boston, definitely East Coast. Um, yeah, I like that. That just a gadget, that some utilitarian thing.
Yeah.
I like the idea of this, maybe having extra buttons for.
All right. So what's next? I guess we're meeting up on Monday.
Yeah, we'll meet up on Monday. For me, for the chore coat, I'm just going to start making drawings now of the actual coat. If we had anybody new for the meeting, I was going to go over the same questions we went over. So we don't need to do that. So I think the two fronts now moving forward on both the physical and digital. Physical coat next will be the present the direction that I want to go in with the drawings, and then the physical or the digital direction concept. And then I'm going to ask people to do basically what we did today, come up with like 2 or 3 accessories.
Yeah. Okay. I might keep adding to this for a little bit.
Nice. I'm really into the accessory board here.
It's a fun one to just. I just started like looking around, like what's my like I've always this kind of key clip thing I think is just beautiful. Like I've got it's
Yeah.
like I've always wanted to. I felt really jealous about it. It was made by this company called Spur Cycle, which is pretty cool. They it's like a cycling hardware brand. They've got their bell, and if you're in the know, you have a Spur Cycle bell on your bicycle. Um, and this keychain, which I haven't seen much of, but I've got one and I love it just because it's. Matter of fact, I did this this keynote presentation, and I was like, I'm just wearing what I wear, and I had the keychain thing on with like my big blob of keys, and I was like, fuck it, I'm wearing this thing. I thought the lady was gonna be like, nah, you can't wear that, but it was all good.
Yeah, I like this. Like when you start thinking about this exercise to something that actually goes right into the near future, because I'm thinking about every time I go hiking, like I always bring my Leatherman in the event that I somehow get stranded or get attacked out on the trail. Um, I've never once needed it, right? But there's always these things that I bring with me everywhere I go when I take off for some sort of an adventure.
No.
Um, that I think about, I'd probably, if I had to pack today for a trip to the near future, I'd probably be like, oh, well, I'd probably bring those things as well in the event of. Um,
Yeah, a knife. So I've had this knife like mysteriously. I've had this knife for I don't know, maybe 30 years. Like a friend gave it to me like way back in the day, and I'm amazed that I still have it with me. That that I haven't lost it because you lose
yeah,
property when you move and stuff like that. Um,
I mean,
yeah,
that's a good point. We definitely, this would be great, a toolkit. Like,
yeah. What toolkit?
tool, uh,
Oh yeah, they say it's a diving knife. He was getting into diving.
was it a Chanel toolkit that they did? What was the toolkit that a high-end brand did that was so ridiculous? I thought it was Louis Vuitton. But I love this idea of like a bespoke NFL toolkit.
Yeah,
Uh,
and what would be in it? Like each piece. It's
right? Like that would just be fucking beautiful.
I did get a new drill because I couldn't find my old one, and I just like went bonkers in the bit section.
I have that exact thing. Yeah.
It's just
And I don't even know what half those bits are for. Like the square one, I've never even needed
I,
ever.
I needed it to put together some IKEA furniture. So it's like I need.
The square one and the star one, I've never ever needed in my life, but I think they're beautiful.
Yeah,
There's something about the way that tools are packaged, and I mean, I think it can even be more beautiful, but I just love toolkits.
yeah, and I think we can hold on to the thing of like just because it's beautiful.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, just because it's beautiful is is perfectly fine in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um, and also, like when I look back at these heritage brands, like an Hermes or a Louis Vuitton, like they were utilitarian, right? Like saddles and or
yeah,
traveling.
yeah,
That like no, I mean, I love thinking about the collab of like an NFL meets Hermes collaboration, where it's like, what are the high end, bespoke, one of a kind leather goods that the billionaire futurist is taking into the near future, um, that are just so stunning that you just want to like put them on a shelf.
yeah.
I like that too, because then it also goes back to this idea of work. I think the Chore coat was such a great choice that you picked in the beginning.
Hmm.
And I think it'll be our challenge, not our challenge. I don't even want to speculate what a challenge would be for us in if for our next piece, but like hitting that blend of like a product that actually represents doing work is
Yeah,
a really nice way to start off.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
God, these are so pretty. Nice. Well, I'm in a, I think we can wrap this, and I have a cat who's about to start getting real feisty if I don't take her out.
Okay.
She starts to
Where
demand
do you
her
guys go?
evening
What do you
walk.
mean when you take her out? What do you do?
So we've got a little courtyard.
Okay.
There's a pool and a big courtyard, and then I live in the lower courtyard, which has
Yeah.
actually worked out perfectly. And she just roams around the lower courtyard. But I started taking her out when she was a little kitten just to like expose her to the world because I wanted to take her hiking.
Yeah.
And my vet was like, when she gets above, 9 or 10 pounds, then you can take her hiking because at that point, she'll be big enough to kind of do her own thing. But she never got bigger than 7 pounds. She's like the
Okay.
super runt. And so I just don't feel comfortable. Like she could get snatched by a hawk so easily.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So,
They're
so we
that
just kind of
also
stick.
that's what freaked me out with taking Chewy on the trail.
Yeah. And I mean, if a hawk came after her, I would be going after every hawk in Southern California afterwards. It would not be a good brand look for me. Um, so yeah, we just walk out in the courtyard. She gets like 15 minutes in the morning, 15, 20 minutes in the afternoon or evening. And I don't even know what she does, but she goes off into the bushes and like digs. And then she's got like a whole routine. I got her a backpack. Did I show you this?
No, I wonder if it's this because yeah. Let me. What is it? Which?
I'll send you the photo. I went to, I bought a bag for myself. And then I was like, all right, it came with like this little additional bag. And it's a little bit much, but it fits perfectly on her back. And so I sewed on some Velcro and then I attached it onto her harness. And I took a first day of school video, and then I got a photo of her about to jump into the tropical bushes here. Where is it? I
I don't know.
sent it off to Tim. And
There's one. I don't know if it might work. I don't know why it wouldn't work for a cat, but I use this thing called it's K9 Sports Sack. Did I ever mention this to you?
no,
It's the brand. It's called K9 Sports Sack. I got two. One I keep in the car, so when I go to the store or whatever, and I need both hands free, I just throw Chuck Chewy in it. And one I take him when we go on a bike ride.
oh, that's awesome.
Kind of perfect. It's
Yeah,
like made for the the general for a creature. It's got little holes where their paws can come out.
yeah. Oh, she's got a backpack that she goes into that I do take her on walks that she can fit in. But I got her own little backpack that I put treats in for her so she
Oh,
can
okay.
carry her
Oh, I
treats
see.
in.
So she carries her own shit.
Yeah, she carries her own weight, and it's very on brand with her whole aesthetic. Um, Here we go. Fucking love it. I just texted it to you. I figured if I'm going to be single and live in LA, this is the kind of shit I'm
That's
going to do.
amazing. That's amazing.
Gonna have her little Prada backpack.
That's amazing. That's so funny.
And when
Yeah.
she walks with it on, it literally looks like she's going to school. It's like, where are you going? And I got her a little computer off of Amazon, like a little laptop. It's actually it's a compact mirror for, I don't know, for makeup. But I put that in there. So she's got her laptop and her treats, and people stop her in the courtyard. She's got a whole thing.
Love it. Love it.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're off to go do that.
Okay. All right. Well,
Living the life.
yeah, this is good stuff. Thanks for doing this, and
Yeah.
talk to you next time.
Yeah. I'll update tomorrow morning on just sort of what we did today. But if you could think of anything else that I should be, not should be, but anything else that would be helpful to be working on, again, physical coat, drawings for next time, and then digital coat, I think iterations of accessories, reaching out to some people to get some more accessories, I think would be a fun activity.
Yeah, and then maybe think about. I mean, I've been thinking since we said we were going to, when we started talking about doing something in real life about, yeah, just stuff to pull out of the closet for reference, just to see stuff and
Yeah.
like all the looking through the books and stuff.
You have a couple of chore coats with at your place, right?
Yeah, more than a couple collection. I think most of them they're around someplace just because we're still unpacking, but
Okay, cool.
I saw a bag with a bunch of them in it.
Nice. Yeah, if you have those out on Monday, that'd be great to take a look.
Sure.
Cool. All right, I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Okay, talk to you again. Bye.
Thanks, Julian.